Welcome to Growing Your Firm, brought to you by Jetpack Workflow. We're here to help firms unlock the secrets to help you reach your goals faster. And now, here's your host, founder and CEO of Jetpack Workflow, David Cristello.
Hey everybody, David Cristello here, founder and CEO of Jetpack Workflow and host of Growing Your Firm podcast. Today's guest is Samantha Santaniello. She is a partner at R.S.K Tax Consulting. You know, we were chatting pre-interview and I was looking at some of the topics we can talk about, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun in today's interview. We're gonna talk about systems and process and why they're so important for scaling your firm while getting back your time so you can service clients. We might even talk a little bit about Jetpack, so it's great to have Samantha on from the Jetpack community. We're gonna talk about, well, you know, you're a firm owner and partner, you're a parent. How do you juggle all these things? What kind of routines and systems have you set up for yourself personally to manage all the moving pieces in your life? We might even dig into AI transcription tools and how you manage that inside of Zoom. We'll probably talk about that and so much more. But first, Samantha, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Very cool. Well, for the audience that's not familiar with RSK, tell us a little bit about the services you provide and what's the typical client that you work with.
Yeah, so R.S.K Tax Consulting, my sister and I started this business almost 7 years ago. We are located in New York, and we service the tri-state area, Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York. And we focus on small business owners and real estate investors because that's where our value add is. And we also, I feel the reason why we do like to target those specific clientele is because we're real estate owners ourselves. So I feel like the experience really helps our clients as well, not just from a tax perspective, but we're able to just talk about those things.
Yeah, wonderful. So it's small business owners that have some exposure to real estate investing. Is that typically the client?
Well, they don't have to, just small business owners in the hospitality, but we would like also when we have real estate investors, which we like to have our clients, if they need help reducing their taxable income, we'll tell them about the whole real estate. And it's not just about the tax, but also the wealth building and everything else that comes with real estate. It's one of our best assets that we have. And
yeah, fantastic. Well, were you doing tax planning from day one when you started the firm with your sister, or did that evolve as over the last 7 years?
Yeah, so we started tax planning day one. So we're more of tax strategists. We're not really like the tax preparers where you see us once a year. Our goal is to be with the clients throughout the year and support them for everything they're doing from a business standpoint, investment standpoint, family standpoint, anything to grow. So that's where we are. So that's what differentiates us from like the regular tax preparer and like tax strategist.
Okay, perfect. Now, I have to ask, I grew up in a family business, pretty familiar sometimes with some of the dynamics that go on. What have you found to work well for building a business with a sibling, right? So what have you learned over the last 7 years about how to still be in business 7 years later and still be talking to your sister? What's been working well, or has it kind of been smooth sailing since day one?
Yeah, so the reason why it works, because I hear a lot of this, how do you work with your sister? But the thing is, we do our thing. So I focus on the operations of the business, figuring out ways to increase processes, to fix processes, to enhance the technology we have. And I also do the tax planning, but she's the expert from the tax planning standpoint, the tax. So because we do different things, it works. The only problem I see is that now, instead of talking about our family, all we do is talk about work all the time. So that's the problem. It's always about work.
Yeah, so family get-togethers, we're like, well, maybe we should, nobody else really is going to talk to us because all we're talking about is work. So we need to find a way.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to set boundaries, but we're trying.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the spectrum of family business challenges, that's probably maybe one of the better ones to have. You mentioned as we were gearing up for the interview, obviously, like many firm owners, you're juggling a lot, and you mentioned kind of your morning routine. So what kind of personal systems have you set up to kind of juggle so many different roles that you have in a given week? What's your, whether the morning routine or systems you set up throughout the day to kind of just manage everything?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have 2 wonderful kids, a wonderful husband, a house to take care of, and then a business to run. And the best thing for me, I figured, is having a morning routine. I get up before everybody. And I know I'm crazy, but I get up at 4 a.m. every day so I can plan my day, work out because I feel better. And then once the kids get up, I'm able to just take care of that. And when I plan, it just helps me set the tone of the day.
Yeah.
When I don't wake up at that 4 a.m., it really just takes me off my game. So I really try to focus on the habit of getting up every day and having that morning routine. It changes everything for me.
Was it hard to start waking up at 4 a.m.? Like what kind of tricks, like systems? Is it a matter of getting to bed early? Is it cutting down caffeine intake? Or where you're like, no, I've always been a morning person. 4 a.m. was a breeze.
I mean, I've always been a morning person, but it's just a habit. At first, I started to get up at 4 a.m. But I guess the honest truth is I love what I do. Everything that I do with my life. Like before having this business, I was in corporate, I was at one of the big four firms, and then I went to private, not for profit. And I was an employee. I never got to really do what I really wanted to do. Just going into work, not really happy. And now I'm happy. I love what I do. I love helping my clients. And I don't know. I just feel like because of that, I'm ready to get up at 4 a.m. and start my day. And so I think that's why, it's easier to get up at that
Yeah.
time.
Well, I think and I say this as a parent of two small kids, if you don't get up at 4 a.m., it's not like, they're getting, if you get up 1 hour later, it's not like you can tell them to get up 1 hour later. You do have a window, and they typically wake up pretty consistently in that window. So that's also forcing function, which is like, I'm not up at this time. I mean, that's it.
Mhm.
I'm not getting it. I don't, if I'm trying to get 2 hours in the morning, I can't move the schedules back an hour if I'm an hour behind.
No, absolutely. I mean, I have a 3-year-old and he gets up like today, he was up with me at 5 a.m. So I can't control that.
Yeah.
But I have my 8-year-old that will come down to my office and he's like, Mommy, why are you always working? And I said, Son, it's not working when you love what you do. So it's nice for my kids to see that I'm able to be a good mom, but also do what I love to do as well. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, 100%. So you mentioned you plan for the day. What does that look like? What are you doing in that window where you're lining up your priorities for the day?
Yeah, so just figuring out my meetings and what my priorities are, and I always pick 3. I don't want to overwhelm myself because if I do, then I don't finish it, it gives me a little bit of anxiety. So I like to just focus on the 3, and then I feel better about the day. So that's what I'll do and plan out my meetings. And I also feel that I have an administrative assistant, which is a game changer. I mean, she is the best and has helped me figure out, just plan my day as well with meetings and stuff. So that was one thing I got that was changed my life.
So let's dig into the admin assistant. What is their role and responsibilities?
Yeah, absolutely. So, before I was doing it myself and setting up Zoom meetings, and then we get a lot of Zoom meetings, right, with potential clients or whatnot, or just other partners that we want to speak to, how we can have different synergies or same synergies that we can work together. And let's say, I'm not able to meet at a certain time, but then they can, and I said, I won't set those boundaries where she will. So I don't even get to say yes, because she knows my schedule and when I can meet with certain clients, and she will just address that instead of me saying yes. Even so, it's me really she's setting those boundaries for me, and it has helped me because I just feel like as a business owner, you just want to please everybody. And that's a big issue, especially when you have a family and you need time with them as well. So,
Right, right. So she controls your calendar. Does she also have access to your inbox? It sounds like
yes.
her.
So she
Okay.
controls my calendar, my email, helping me onboard new clients.
Okay, onboard new clients. And by the way, I mean, how long have you had this administrative assistant?
About 3 months, 2 months. But I had another one, and then my Tina came on board like 2 months ago, and she's been great. And not only does she book my trips, but she helps me from a personal perspective as well.
So book
So
trips, business related, personal related, anything that saves you time, it sounds like she's there to help you with.
absolutely, and she's great, and she is just very proactive.
Okay. So when you wake up in the morning, you're planning, you're looking at your meetings, your admin assistant probably put some of those meetings on. You're doing meeting prep and you're laying out your top
Mhm.
3 priorities. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
correct. Yes.
Okay. Rock and roll. All right. So thinking about process now, you mentioned a little bit with how you set up your priorities and how you're onboarding clients and things like that. But as you've grown over the last 7 years, what
Mhm.
has been your approach to designing systems and processes and kind of leveling up the firm from that perspective?
Yeah, so let's just talk about Jetpack and how it has helped my firm significantly. So when I first started, we were using Excel to manage everything because we didn't have that many clients. Now that we have clients that we service that need different things, it would be hard to have an Excel to manage all that. So one of the firms that we are close with had utilized Jetpack, and once I looked into the system, because I am a system junkie, so I love going in and seeing how things work, and I really loved it. One thing that I have to say I love about Jetpack are the labels, because we're in our firm, we are really big on being proactive with our clients. So I use the labels for missing information, missing information. A lot of clients are always missing stuff. So every week now I'll run a report by all the clients that are missing information, and our team can go ahead and get in touch with the clients to get that. So that was a big game changer, because how would you know who's missing information if you don't have those kind of processes in place?
Hey, Growing a Firm community, David here. Just want to share a quick note about Jetpack Workflow, our accounting workflow software. Now, for almost a decade, we've helped 5,000 plus accountants, bookkeepers, and firm owners use Jetpack Workflow to better organize accounting workflows, automate recurring tasks, and easily track and monitor client work. Never miss a deadline again. Stop using messy Post-it notes, generic tools, legacy systems, or spreadsheets to handle workflows and bring sanity to your client work. Now head on over to jetpackworkflow.com. That's jetpackworkflow.com to get started with a 14-day free trial or schedule a one-on-one demo with us. All right, now let's get back to the show. I love it. And so when you're running that report about which clients are missing information, are you running that every week, twice a week, once a month? Is that a recurring meeting you have with your team, or kind of what does that process look like of how often you're running that report and sending that out to your folks?
Yeah, so it's every Monday we do that, because we will follow up with our clients on Monday. So hopefully they would give us the information we need to then process what we need to throughout that week. So that's how we like to start our week. And then on Fridays, we will run reports based on what's still outstanding, especially during tax time. But also now too, as extensions are due September, October, we'll run these reports. And it's been great. Really, those labels are amazing. And another thing too, that's great with Jetpack is the communication, the note section. I love that, because we're able to communicate as a team what's going on with the job. And let's say one person that was doing the return can no longer do it. The person picking it up could know what has been going on. So it's really
Fantastic.
great.
So zeroing in, so Monday, I love these kind of Monday, Friday bookends that you have for the week. So Monday, you're looking at who do we need to follow up with?
Yep.
Is there anything else on that you look at on Mondays to get ready for the week? So you're looking at what's stuck. Is there anything else you're looking at in that Monday section?
So also we have an office manager. And so we'll look at to see any e-files we sent, have they been signed? So then she can reach out to them and let the clients know that they have an outstanding e-file form that they need to sign.
Got it. And so so Monday is, what's kind of stuck, or what information's missing? Who do we need to follow up with? Looking at the status for things like e-file. Is that the parameters of that Monday meeting?
Yes.
Okay. And then Friday, you said you look at what's still outstanding. Are you also looking at what's done, or do you kind of know what's done because you're seeing it through the system?
Yeah. So we're seeing it through a system because they'll clear the job. And that's really
Yeah.
important to me, is that I'll ask the team to make sure they clear the jobs once they're done, so that, we can run reports to see what's outstanding. So Monday's basically what we need to follow up with the clients with. And Friday is basically for the team and what they need to finalize and what's outstanding on their behalf.
Okay. And how are you organizing the system to know? Are you using labels again to understand what's still outstanding? Or are you just looking at, look, it was due this week, it hasn't been done this week. Please tell me there's a note in there that tells me why it's been, or how are you understanding, like, if something's still outstanding, what's the reason?
Yeah, so we have managers associated with each client, and then that manager would be in charge of all the jobs. Not that they would do the prep work, but they would then assign it to who, to our preparer or the reviewer, but they're the ultimately responsible person for that client. So when we run a report, it's basically, we'll just see what's outstanding. Let's say, like the 1040s, we'll run it by manager, and then they can explain why it's outstanding.
Okay, fantastic. Well, speaking, we've talked about team here a few times. You know, what have you learned, or what have you, kind of through trial and error? Because I think we all do trial and error with hires
Mhm.
sometimes. I'm sure
Right.
like, we're both in the same boat. You make some good ones, you make some not so good ones. You definitely learn in both instances. So what have you learned over the last 7 years in what makes a great hire, or how do you find a great team member for your firm?
Yeah, I believe over the 7 years that I've been running a business that a team is everything. Without them, I will not be where I am today because you cannot grow on your own. And it's really hard to find good people. So when you find them, you keep them. And I feel like with a team, they just want to feel it's not always just about the money. I feel like they just want to feel they are part of something bigger. And it's more results driven. They are a part of growing this firm with me. And we have these meetings where I want them to communicate to me to let me know, what can I do better? What can we do better as a team? It's not just me. Believe me, I hire people that know more than I do in that specific subject because I want to learn from them. And
Mhm.
so it just works well. And also the vibe has to work too. So we all just get along. We're not only friends, we work together. We do a lot of outings together. And I think that's really important.
How often are you asking them for feedback on what the firm could be doing to better support them?
Quarterly, we'll have like quarterly meetings.
Okay. Speaking of which, so you have quarterly meetings. Do you run quarterly, company-wide meetings? Is it your cadence every quarter, or is that one you just mentioned quarterly different from, all hands or company meetings you run monthly or weekly? Like, what is your overall meeting cadence schedule at the firm?
Yeah, so we'll do during tax seasons every week, we'll have a meeting. And then after tax season, I'll have a meeting with everyone to discuss the processes and what could we do better.
I love
And
that.
then it's so important because I'm always big on enhancing our processes. And so then I will have another meeting come September, October after the extension period to see, okay, what should we do for 2023? And that's 2023 tax season. That's what we're going to work on in the next couple of months once we're done. And then I will go ahead and implement these new processes. And hopefully that'll be more streamlined and make tax season less stressful. So.
Is it hard to solicit feedback on how to make the process better, or is it culturally understood that, hey, if we're having a meeting on this, hour, couple hours, come with ideas?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody loves contributing. They
Okay.
love it. Yeah.
Is it ever overwhelming on your end, which is like, these are a lot of ideas, I can't do it all, or are you just like, keep bringing them, or we're gonna find a way to implement them?
Absolutely. I am really big on that. I love ideas. I love, seeing what other people saying. I'm not like, oh, I know everything because I don't. And I love, just hearing other people's opinions and how we can come together to get a better process in place.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, final question I have to ask, and this is just such a post-COVID question, but like, is your firm in office? Is it hybrid? Is it remote?
So I have an office in Terrytown. My office manager comes in, but we also have staff in other states as well.
Okay, so it's
So it's
mainly
remote.
high
Yeah.
remote, but you have some that come in,
Yes.
the office. When you're running these monthly and quarterlies, are you ever meeting up in person, or is everything facilitated remotely?
Everything for the most part is remote, but we try like we're having a dinner next month for whoever does live in the tri-state area.
Okay, okay, brilliant. Well, Samantha, this has been a lot of fun to talk about your journey, running this very successful family business, thinking about process, thinking about team talent and tech. The one thing I forgot to ask, you mentioned right before the interview, last couple minutes here, is you mentioned these tools that you plug into Zoom for your client meetings. Let's just talk about a little bit about what you're
Yeah.
using to help kind of automate your client notes and transcriptions.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called Read, READ, and every Zoom meeting I have, it'll give me a summary of what was said, anything that I need to follow up with. It gives it by chapters and sections. It's amazing. So I don't need to take notes. And what that helps me with is that I can now focus on the client and what they're saying and what their goals are, what their needs are. I don't have to be writing while they are talking because I'll have the Read do that for me.
Yeah, I
So.
love it. And if folks haven't seen tools like this, I know there's a couple out in the marketplace. So you're
Mhm.
saying Read, it's in the Zoom app ecosystem. We'll,
Mhm.
we'll link that up in the show
Yes.
notes, but it's just like reading a book. It's spelled exactly how it sounds, REA.
Yes. Yes.
It's really amazing when you see the first one. You're like, how did it pick out these sections? And I haven't used the one you've talked about, but I've used these
Mhm.
other ones, and it's just pretty amazing. I mean, it really is like digital assistant that's sitting on these meetings. It's unbelievable. So I'd encourage our audience to at least take a look at these, whether you use Zoom or Teams or Google Meets or goodness knows what's the new one that's going to come out next week. They all have some version of this. So take a look if you're running a lot of virtual meetings. Samantha, this has been a real treat. If somebody from our audience wants to reach out, say thank you, ask you questions, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yes. So our website, www.rsktax.com. I am also on Instagram. I do a lot of reels educating my followers on different tax planning strategies and whatnot. I'm also on LinkedIn as well, and email.
I love it. We're going to link up everything in the show
Okay.
notes. I'm going to talk about this here in a second, but I have to ask, is Instagram a great lead source for you? Are you getting a lot of views on tax planning sessions? Is it working?
So I just do it to really educate the followers, but I really get most of my referrals through networking and just from clients that I currently have.
Got it. So Instagram is probably great for brand building, it drives general awareness and maybe helps facilitate some of the introductions. Exactly. I'm always so impressed by these platforms and their distribution mechanisms where, we're talking with somebody a few quarters ago and, he's doing accounting videos on TikTok and they were doing pretty well. I mean, I think it was pretty similar to your perspective, which is it's brand building and educating the market. And I wouldn't say there was a landslide of leads, but sometimes you look at these platforms and you think lifestyle or travel or leisure or cooking for Instagram, but money is money and people want finance advice or they want to understand tax planning strategies. So anyways, we'll link that up in the show notes and we'll go on jetpackworkflow.com/blog. That's jetpackworkflow.com/blog. We'll link up all the social accounts. We'll link up the website and everything else. If you enjoyed today's interview, leave a 5-star review. And if you really enjoyed it, if you heard something from Samantha and really sparked a new idea, share it with a fellow firm owner that needed to hear a piece of today's content. Samantha, it's been a real treat. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining Growing Your Firm, the podcast series for global, small, and medium-sized businesses ready to scale and increase profits. You can check out more podcasts by following the links in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening. At Jetpack Workflow, we're all about maximizing returns for accounting firms and CPAs. Check out more podcasts on growing your firm and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.